Joining us now, former Speaker of the House, author of the bestseller Trump's America, The Truth About Our Nation's Great Comeback. Now, I know we could survive if, God forbid, that we lost the House. The problem is just everything then gets 50,000 times harder, and a lot of our progress gets stalled. That's what's at stake here.
Well, the other thing that's at stake here is exactly what was at stake by the time they were done with character assassination and smears on Kavanaugh, and that is, if he had gone down, if he had failed, the signal that would have sent to decent human beings to stay out of public life, to not agree to serve, to hide from the filth, would have been horrifying. As terrible as it was, at least when it was over, he's now sitting on the Supreme Court. So, what hit me, and I was just listening to you thinking, because once again, as you did with Obama way back in 2008, and as you did with Hillary, I think you just cut through something really important. I think we should describe this as the year the mask came off.
Yeah, I think it is. I think what's interesting, I don't know, I definitely feel momentum. The polls are showing momentum. We now have, if we go through all the states, there's a very tight race. Heller's up by 2 out in Arizona. McSally, believe it or not, is now up by 6. This is before the release of these tapes, which I believe is definitely going to hurt in the case of Kristen Sinema. Marsha Blackburn is up by 8 in Tennessee. That is such an important race. Ted Cruz has rebounded in spite of all the hype of the Beto O'Rourke and all the money that's thrown against Ted Cruz. That is such an important seat. Claire McCaskill is down. Heidi Heitkamp is down. Joe Donnelly is down. And I think Tester is vulnerable in Montana. I think there's a lot of Senate races that are really winnable in this atmosphere where we just watch the Senate all stand in line but for Joe Manchin and follow Chuck Schumer's lead.
Well, and remember, if you have that happening in that many states, you're not going to get a blue wave in the House. I mean, they're the same voters. They're the same people. And the tide is not there. But there's something else in what you just said that I think is really important. And again, I'm thinking out loud with you, so because you've triggered, the reporting you're doing has triggered this in my own thinking. I think our folks ought to start shifting towards humor. I think I really mean this. I think you could take this.
I mean, here I am. I'm throwing as hard a punch as I can. I'm fighting as hard as I know how to fight. And then you come in and said, Hannity, just put your foot off the gas and tell a joke.
No. I want you to put your foot on the gas even more. But remember, as Reagan often proved, sometimes humor is more devastating than anger.
He's right.
So for example, with Bredesen, I really think Marsha's attitude at a big con, it's okay. We all understand you're a liberal. We all understand you're going to vote for Schumer. Don't be ashamed of it. It's all right. None of us hate you for it. It's who you really are. And again, I think this is something I learned this in part from Theodore White's great coverage of John F. Kennedy in Queens, New York in 1960, where Kennedy went on this riff the weekend before the election, just ripping the Republicans, but it was all funny. It was all humorous. I mean, I think McSally, for example, could take all of these crazy things that her opponent has said, weave them together into an 8 or 10 minute speech to be like a vaudeville act. And just say it's okay.
But could you imagine saying the meth capital of the world and the people of Arizona are crazy? I can't. I think the race should be over now.
But think about it, Sean. The first thing we should say to her is, why would you want to be the senator from the meth capital of the world? I mean, if you believe the stuff you said, why would you want to represent people who are crazy? What's wrong with you?
That's a great question.
I think we should accept they really are who they are.
I accept that, and I also accept another thing, that there's no more moderation. You know the history of relationships, even Tip O'Neill and Reagan. I mean, those days are long, long gone. And the era of moderation or a Scoop Jackson Democrat or even Joe Lieberman got thrown out of the party, Mr. Speaker. That pretty much says it all. That was one of the nicest human beings ever.
You cannot be a moderate Democrat today and survive. Because you just get more and more and more isolated. I mean, the vote, I thought it was very telling that the votes on Kavanaugh, you had people who might have had a better chance of getting reelected, but they couldn't break with their caucus.
Only
they
one
couldn't
did.
break with their donors.
Only one person. And I give him credit. Joe Manchin. Probably
That's right.
Joe Manchin. I'm sure he got the hell beat out of him by Chuck Schumer and company.
They were desperate for him to not vote because they didn't want it to be bipartisan. And that's what his vote did.
Well, I mean, I guess that means he's strong, and he's like, you're not going to ruin my career because of your radical leftist agenda. Maybe he'll even think about becoming a Republican if he wins, and that is the one seat that seems safe for a red state Democrat, the only one at this point.
I think that's right. I think, and it really, even if you watch, even when he voted for Kavanaugh, the numbers narrowed. The race is closer today than it was a week ago. Because I think what's happened is people looked up and suddenly realized what a team sport this is. That you got two teams. And there's a really simple question for every so-called moderate. And I'd say this, I would also say this to Manchin. Is he really going to vote for Schumer?
It's a fair question. Everybody needs to be asked that question that's a Democrat.
That's right, because if he's going to vote for Schumer, why would West Virginians send somebody to Washington to take power away from Mitch McConnell in the neighboring coal state? I mean, McConnell at least understands West Virginia. Schumer has contempt for West Virginia, as Hillary Clinton has contempt. As just recently, 2 weeks ago, you had Nancy Pelosi saying things that were contemptible about West Virginia. So the question I'll be posed to Manchin is, why are you even running? I mean, if you're going to vote for Schumer, why run?
When you look at things that have been said, and I mean, just in recent times, I mean, the idea of smelly Walmart voters or we can't be civil, or Joe Biden saying in September the Trump voters are the dregs of society, or irredeemable deplorables, or bitter people clinging to their God, guns, Bibles, and religion. I mean, it's pretty obvious where these people are. You haven't had a chance yet to see the Bredesen office, the undercover video of Project Veritas. I don't know if you saw it on my show last night, but it reveals a deep, deep contempt. They're literally calling the people of Tennessee, within the office of the Senate candidate from Tennessee, they're calling the people stupid and ignorant. Now, I would say it's over. Marsha Blackburn will be the next senator from the great state of Tennessee, as will Martha McSally be the next senator from the great state of Arizona.
I think the odds are very high that the wave is starting to build now, and ironically, it's going to be a red wave, not a blue wave.
You really believe that?
I'm not sure that there's enough psychoanalysts available for the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN to deal with this. If this election night comes out the way I think it's going to come out, every single one of those channels is going to be in such deep trouble psychologically.
What about these Republicans in these important House seats to prevent Nancy Pelosi from becoming Speaker? What do you say to those candidates as they now go into their final stretch, 25 days?
I say, look, it's very simple. As you know, I wrote a paper on it, which you were kind enough to point out, that's at Amazon on the 2018 election. Pretty straightforward. This election is about the future of America. One side wants to deliver results, and by the way, with the release of the pastor in Turkey today, President Trump has once again delivered for America and delivered for religious liberty and for human rights. Another victory for him and for America. The other side basically just wants to resist. And then I take it to very specific issues. I think Kevin McCarthy's introduction of a bill to control the southern border that'll be voted on in December is really important. And I would say the other side, how can you tolerate MS-13 in our neighborhoods? How can you tolerate fentanyl and opioids? There were 74,000 drug overdose deaths last year, more than people we lost in the entire Vietnam War. How can you tolerate this? How can you tolerate sanctuary cities?
Well,
you have to make
I have John Cox on later. I never thought a Republican would be within striking distance in California. Gavin Newsom now, not only a sanctuary state, we talked about it the other day, now he wants a free health care for everybody. Resident of California, non-resident, legal, illegal, doesn't matter. Go to California, free health care for anyone.
Well, I think you pointed out to me the other day, and I hadn't quite thought about it until you said it, that not only is Newsom willing to take care of everybody who's sick on the entire planet, But that also is a great signal for every governor in the state to have a little Medicaid slip that says, by the way, if you get sick, here is your one-way airfare to California. They would love to take care of you for free. You might have solved 49 states' Medicaid problem in terms of their budgets by just allowing them to send everybody to California. I mean, Newsom's plan is worthy of a former mayor of San Francisco. It is literally crazy.
All right, you made me laugh spontaneously.
All right.
Former Speaker,
it's working, isn't it? It's working.
Listen, winning is fun. I'm not sick of winning, I'll tell you that.
Nope.
I'm not sick of the American people winning. I don't know what Linda is saying in my ear. Why don't you just say it on the air? What?
I'm so sorry, but, you guys are just so caught up in the business, but I wanted to remind everybody about the Speaker's event on Monday. So if people want to find out about it, Mr. Speaker, maybe you can tell them where to go. Yeah,
they can have an evening with Newt. It's in Des Moines, and we're going to talk about ideas and about history and also about current events. And I'm looking forward to it. You'll be shocked to know I'm talking to you from Seattle. Awesome. When I get done here tomorrow, I'm going to go to Dallas, and then I'm going to go to Des Moines. So, no more complaining
I'm going to be on the road
out in Rome.
I have a big announcement where we're going to be next week, and then next Saturday, a week from tomorrow, I'm going to be with Senator Ted Cruz.
That's great.
All right, Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Now pulling away from Beto.
In spite of all the hype and the money,